Welcome to my videos. In this time, I'm going to talk about the Manchester City season 2022-2023. I'm going to talk about how the wonderful season the Manchester City did because a few hours ago, Manchester City won the UEFA Champions League when defeated 1-0 Inter Milan, and for first time in its history, they won this trophy. And in this season, the Manchester City did an amazing job where they won the triple crown, the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. So I'm going to talk about a little more about the five tournaments that Manchester City play in this season 2022-2023. Where if before the season started, the Manchester City played the FA Community Shield, where because they played because the last year in the season 2021-2022 they won the Premier League, and they faced against the Liverpool because they won the FA Cup in the season 2021-2022. And this game was 1 win before the season starter, and they lost this game 3-1 because Liverpool played an amazing game, the FA Cup, because they took the league to 2-0. Later, the Manchester City scored the first goal, but in the end, Manchester City scored the third goal, and Manchester City lost that game 3-1. And the second tournament that the Manchester City play was the EFL Cup, the Couple League, the Carabao League, where they were eliminated in the quarterfinals, where where they started to play in the round of 32, where in the round of 32 the Manchester City play against the Chelsea, where Manchester City won that game 2-0 and advanced to the round of 16. In the round of 16, Manchester City play against Liverpool, where they won that game through 2. Sorry, Manchester City won that game through 3-2, and Manchester City advanced to the quarterfinals. But in the quarterfinals, Manchester City didn't have a look, and they were defeated by Southampton 2-0, and Manchester City was eliminated in the quarterfinals by Southampton in the Carabao Cup, the EFL. And in the Premier League, they won the Premier League for for back-to-back years, and the fifth Premier League that they won in 6 years. This was amazing. This was a very complicated season in the Premier League, because remember that the Arsenal dominated the league in the first 20 to 25, 27 weeks, but in the last 10 weeks of the season, Manchester City improved its game, and Arsenal started to play a very bad game, where in the last 8 weeks of the season, Manchester City took the advantage, and that was enough to held in until the end, and Manchester City won the Premier League. Manchester City in the Premier League, sorry. Manchester City in the Premier League won the Premier League by 5 point difference, where they won they made 89 points, where they have a record of 28 victories, 5 tie, and 5 losses, where they scored 94 goals and just allowed 32 goals. And this was amazing because they won how I said before, the back-to-back Premier League championship, and the fifth in 6 years. And this is amazing because if Liverpool hadn't won the Premier Leagues 2 weeks ago, Manchester City could have won the sixth Premier League in a row, and it could have been amazing. And the last week, the Manchester City leaves the FA Cup, where they defeated Manchester United. Sorry. They defeated Manchester United 2-1 to leave this trophy. In the FA Cup, Manchester City started to play in the tier round, where in the tier round, Manchester City play against Chelsea in this round, and Manchester City didn't have any problem to defeat Chelsea 4-0 and advance to the first round, where in the first round Manchester City faced play against Arsenal, where Manchester City won that game 1-0. Manchester City qualified to the fifth round, where in the fifth round Manchester City play against Bristol City, and Manchester City didn't have any problem to defeat Bristol City 3-0 and advance to the quarterfinals, where Manchester City in the quarterfinals played against the Burnley, where Manchester City didn't have any problem because they won the game easily 6-0 and advanced to the semifinals, where in the semifinals Manchester City played against the Sheffield United, and in this game the Manchester City had an easy game where they defeated 3-0 the game and advanced to the final, where in the final Manchester City played against Manchester United the last week, and Manchester City started to win in this game in the first minutes of the game 1-0, and they controlled the game because Gundogan scored the first goal in the first minutes of the game. Later in the minute 38, Bruno Fernandes scored the tie by a penalty, and they were tied 1-1 in the halftime. But in the first minutes of the second half, Ikan Gundogan scored the Manchester City second goal in his second goal, and that was enough to win the game 2-1 and leave this trophy. And today, early a few hours ago, Manchester City defeated 1-0 Inter Milan in Istanbul in the UEFA Champions League final 2022-2023, and with this score, Manchester City leaves his first title of the UEFA Champions League, and Pep Guardiola leaves his third UEFA Champions League in his history. Remember that in the UEFA Champions League, Manchester City started in the Group H, where they play against Borussia Dortmund, Sevilla, and Copenhagen. Where in this group, Manchester City didn't have any problem to win it, where they made 40 points. And in the round of 16, Manchester City play against the Red Bull Leipzig, where in the first game they tied 1-1. They have a problem in this game, but in the second leg, Manchester City didn't have any problem because they won the game 7-0, and advanced to the quarterfinals. Where in the quarterfinals, Manchester City play against the Bayern Munich, where in the first game Manchester City didn't have any problem to defeat 3-0 Bayern Munich, where this could have been a higher score, where Manchester City could have scored more than 3 goals, like 5 goals, and in the second leg, the game was tied 1-1, and Manchester City advanced to the semifinals. In the semifinals, Manchester City just had problem in the first game, where they tied the game 1-1, where Real Madrid could have won that game, but in the second leg, Manchester City played its best game of the season, where they humiliate Real Madrid, and they had an easy game, the easiest game of the season, where they defeated 4-0, but this score could have been worse, like 7-0 or 8-0, and Manchester City qualified to the final. And in the final, Manchester City didn't play a very good game, because this game, to be honest, the final was very bored, where in the first half, the first 10 minutes, Manchester City dominated the game, but in the rest of the first half, Inter dominated the game, but it wasn't a spectacular game. In the halftime, the game was 0-0, and in the second half, the first 7 minutes, the Manchester City dominated the game, but no was funny. But in the minus 68, Rodrigo scored the Manchester City first goal, and after that, Inter Milan closed better the game, where they dominated the game, and Inter Milan had 3 goal opportunity to tie the game, but they couldn't score a goal. Even in the last play of the game, Inter Milan could have tied the game, but they couldn't, and Manchester City won the game 1-0 and won the UEFA Champions League. So here was the summary of the Manchester City season 2022-2023, where they won the Triple Crow, where they won the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. So see you next video, Gibran.